Let me just start with the standard question, like everybody always asks. What drew you to this project?
Well, Genesis is a really inspiring guy, and his story is very uplifting and heartwarming. And I like stories that are heartwarming, inspiring, and got a good message.
I mean, how were you approached to this? I mean, how did you first hear about Genesis?
The normal way, I heard about the project sort of floating around for a couple of years, and I thought, I can't really see myself in that role, physically, and I don't play chess, and I didn't really get it. I thought it was very, very ambitious, but I didn't think I would be the right casting for it, to be honest. Mm-hmm. But then I read the script, and I thought, okay, there's potential there, and I talked to the director, and he was very smart, very talented young man, and the producer, and then the process began. And then I watched a documentary about him, and then I saw this guy was an amazing character. And then the role moved from being challenging to impossible. And I thought, that's something I want to do. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. And the director and I agreed. It's like, well, we're either going to succeed or fail spectacularly. Because it was just it was a once in a lifetime opportunity to have such a dynamic and challenging role.
Now, I've seen the film. I was very impressed with your performance there.
Thank you.
But what do you suppose was the impossible thing, in your opinion?
It was a combination of things. Like physically, he was like so different from me. The mental illness was like another factor. I was like, oh God, how do you portray that? How do you make sense of that? That was really challenging. I didn't really understand how to get that across when I first read the script. And then he was, I talked to many people about him, and he had this real presence, and he was a very powerful man. Even though he's homeless and toothless and impoverished, he had this immense sense of power and love that sort of exuded out of him. And he changed people's lives. And I thought, wow, how do you get that on screen? I really didn't know how to wrap all of that up in a ball and say, okay, cool, I'll see you at work on Monday and we'll start doing this. It was a process. It took a lot to try and figure all of that out.
Talk about your transformation. I understand the director asked many things of you: gaining weight, shaving your head, possibly, right?
Well, no.
And the teeth. I mean, there's a lot of different things.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was on the table right up front. They were really upfront about it, and they said it was a really important part of the film, and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I said, if I'm going to do the role, we have to take all of that off the table, and it can't be about the physicality, because I don't want to have health problems because I've done a movie. Mm-hmm. I don't want to stress myself out to the point where I'm getting sick. So they agreed, reluctantly. From the producer, the director was very supportive. I said, let's focus on who the man was and what his story was. Let's not get sort of obsessed about the weight and the teeth and the hairstyle. I saw those things as superficial. But once I accepted the role and I started doing the work, and I understood his illness and the medication he had to take on a daily basis, and the sort of the obstacles he had in his life, it became like the obvious thing to do. I understood that the physicality became very important, and that he was a very big man, mm-hmm. and he was a very powerful man. You wouldn't want to get hit by that guy.
Yeah.
He was very, very, very strong. So that sense of size and power became really important, wrapped in those blankets and that warmth and that softness. So he became like this big, strong, powerful, happy, cuddly teddy bear Buddha. Mm-hmm. It was like this massive contradictions.
Yeah.
And the physicality became very important. Also, without the teeth, it's like when I smiled, I had no teeth. It's like only babies and old people have no teeth. You get gums, and it's like it makes you seem, I don't know. There's something very disarming about someone with no teeth. It's mm-hmm. like that can smile. That's not. Yeah, it was like that has no vanity. He had no vanity about his appearance. But in some ways, but in other ways, he loved different hairstyles. He would have a shaved head and have mohawks. He would do all sorts of things with his hair. Mm-hmm. And so that was just fun. So I had like a whole selection of things that I could do to build this character.
obviously the look himself. I mean, with the clothing he wear, the Crocs and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's quite opposite.
That's real.
It's quite opposite what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, he literally did walk around in pink Crocs wearing a big blanket. And that's actually what he dressed like. In the movie, I actually wore one of his wife actually gave me one of his blankets to wear in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Made it more real in it seems.
Yeah,
right?
it was beautiful, yeah.
Now, with your portrayal here, did the friends and family ever basically said no, that's not what he's like or anything like that?
No, the opposite. The opposite. Like some of his nieces and nephews saw pictures of me, and they thought, is that Jen? They thought it was real. They thought that I really was Jen, and Jen had passed away a few years before. So it's not that I was Jen. It was like there were things that I started to do that were uncannily like Jen, and I started to inhabit the space where it wasn't mimicry. I wasn't mimicking him, but I'd sort of got to understand him from the inside, the struggles that he went through emotionally, and his obsessions and his loves. And it really became, I really transformed into this guy. It was not, my wife says she's seen me in a lot of stuff, but that's the one movie where she saw us that was not you. That was somebody else. So it was really, as an artist, it was very, very gratifying, very satisfying.
I understand it was a lot of method acting on your part.
That was James's idea. James wanted me to do this whole method acting thing, which I'd never done before. And I was like, this means you have to live in the role. Like I had to live like this homeless guy without teeth and play chess all day long and drink a lot of beer. And that was actually fun. It was quite stressful at first and disorienting. And there were times where it was a little bit scary because I started to have thoughts that were not like my normal thoughts. I started to think Jen thoughts, and I started to get Jen behaviors. He had this nervousness when he got excited and stuff like that, and he got very. I'm still. There's one hangover from the whole movie. It's some years later now, and I'm still obsessed with chess. I didn't play chess before.
Oh, really?
I haven't been able to shake that one yet.
Well, that's
a bit of a problem.
Well, I'm glad that the sleeping on a pavement in the rain wasn't one of them.
No, yeah, I did do that. Yeah.
Oh, you did do that?
Yeah, I did do that for real.
It seems like he just put you through the grinder with everything, physically, mentally, everything.
No, Jen did. I sort of become. Once I committed to the role and I committed to being Jen, like living as Genesis for like those months, there were highs and lows. There were good parts and there were tough parts. But overall, it was like, as an artist, working from a point of a work of art, it was an amazing process. It was an incredible gift. Because not many films or television shows have got patience for that kind of thing. They don't allow for that kind of indulgence. So as an artist, to have a vehicle where I could really completely embrace the role and live as that character through the duration of the shoot was something really extraordinary.
Talk about working with the rest of the cast. I mean, it's basically two different casts that you had to work with the gang members, and you also had to work with the chess club. I mean, that's
children.
Yeah, the children. I mean, that seems like you have to go back and forth in two different type of scenarios.
Yeah, like the children are the heart of the movie. And they're just like, they're so beautiful and they're non-actors. A lot of the gang members were non-actors. And so, but at the same time, it was grounded in a really nice way, it felt very real. And Genesis lived that life, he did have a brother who was in the gangs, and he did run a chess club. So it just seemed very natural, actually. It seemed very organic. But he also, other things that he did in life aren't in the film. He used to teach strategy to lawyers and judges and business people.
Oh, wow.
He taught them how to play chess and showed them how to, he was a mathematician. He loved philosophy. So, we didn't have time to put all of that in the film. He was a hopeless romantic. He was a very romantic guy. But so that was really, that spectrum was very comfortable to play as Genesis. He was that kind of guy.
So how did you research for the role if because you never met Genesis in it.
No, yeah, I watched a documentary about him, which was very helpful, and I also I met his wife and his son, and I met Noble and Jedi. They became my chess coaches, and I spent every day with them. And when I first met them, they took me to the grave of Genesis, and I stood at his grave. And it was just really to let me know how beloved he was by his family and how important he was to them. And then I met a lot of the kids that he helped in his community, and I met his philosopher friends and his scientist friends. I met other people that were bipolar who talked about some of the stories.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I met some of the gang members and stuff like that. Yeah, so I met a lot of people from his life and talked to them about him, and I heard a lot. His brothers, his sisters. He came with a family of 22 children.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there was a lot of people to meet.
How about the convenience that it was filmed in New Zealand, your own backyard, and you didn't have to fake an accent?
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, no, I love doing movies at home because I get to stay at home for a few months and tell stories from home. It's like a real privilege. I didn't have to do an accent, but I did have to find his voice. He had a very unique way of speaking, especially when he was excited. You know, when he would stutter and he would his mind would be moving faster than he could speak. And so that was there's a real process.
How do you find a voice of a person that you never met, though?
I watched videos.
The videos of him?
Yeah. And when he talked about things, yeah. He's a very interesting man, very thoughtful man. And he's a great teacher.
Yeah.
He's a good chess player, but I think he was a better teacher.
So if you had to endure the physicality, the mental state, method, acting, and everything, what do you suppose was the greatest challenge on this project for you?
Well, it's to dig deeper underneath all of that superficial stuff and look at why the man transformed people's lives and why he had such an impact on people's lives in the way he did. And I really think it was because he had an extraordinary ability to have compassion for others, less fortunate, and love. He had a deep feeling of love, and he embraced people. He didn't see people. It didn't appear, as far as I can tell, he couldn't really see race or class or wealth or poverty. He wasn't really confused by any superficial. He just saw human beings. He seemed to relate to people in a very human way. And I think that was the most challenging thing, is to be that loving and that compassionate, and to really try and open up my heart in such a way that it sort of made it onto the screen.
May I ask what your character was mumbling a lot throughout the entire movie? I mean, do you even know what you were mumbling about?
Yeah. I like, when you see those homeless people walking around the streets, they're mumbling stuff.
Yeah.
I focused on him trying to work things out. So at the opening sequence, I was muttering a phrase which is a traditional Māori says, mai te pō ki te ao mara, mai te pō ki te ao mawhai ao ki te mao, mawhai ao te ki te mao, ao mara ki te pō. So that is basically saying the world of darkness comes from the world of light, and the world of light will return to the world of darkness, and out of the world of darkness will come the world of light, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. So lightness and dark are the same. And so I was just like saying that over and over and over and over. And so that the lightness follows dark, so that whenever you're in darkness, you find hope and light, because darkness will surely be followed by light. And that light, we cannot live in fear of darkness, because light will be surely followed by darkness. And so they are the two sides of the same coin. They are the same thing. And so that's one of the things I was muttering.
Wow. Is that like a cultural thing out in New Zealand? Yes,
it comes from our creation mythology, and it comes from our most ancient prayer, our most sacred and our oldest sort of prayer, which talks about the creation of the universe, and that at the beginning there was nothing, and out of nothingness there came darkness, and out of darkness there came light, and out of light there came light, so on and so forth. And so there are ancient chants that go back, I don't know, thousands and thousands of years that recount the beginning of time and the forming of the universe.
Wow.
And so I built sort of like some of those mythological aspects into the character. There's another sort of like passage where he says, "Where have you been?" And I helped to write a little sort of passage saying that he went from Tāne Mahuta, he went up into the heavens and and then he met Mahuika. And I sort of list a number of like mythological gods from Māori or Polynesian mythology, where they brought life onto the planet.
Wow.
And that he, in his own mind, he travelled the universe. So that when he was in a state of mania, he'd actually gone and talked to these mythological figures and he'd hung out with them. So, I'd sort of tied mythology into his philosophy and into sort of how he experienced life, yeah. So that's some of what I did. And other mumblings were really about him trying to figure out his relationship with his brother. Because his brother was imposing these rules that he couldn't understand, that he didn't see the justice in what he was saying.
Yeah.
And he felt like it wasn't fair, that he was trying to help his son to see that there was more to life than being in a gang. And so some of the mutterings were about that.
Oh, that's very impressive.
And I could go on and on. Other mutterings were about remembering to take his medications, remembering to have a clear purpose in life, trying to stay positive, not to get negative, having a strict regime. And so that this was his way of like remembering what he needed to do in a day. And without it, he might forget, and he must not forget, because if he forgets, he falls off the wagon, stops taking his meds, falls into depression, he can't move for 3 years. He lives in darkness.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely method acting. Well, let me...
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
You asked the question, I don't know how. I don't know how to do things in sound bites.
That's fine. Let me wrap this up. Could you talk about some of your upcoming projects? Obviously, Fear the Walking Dead is...
Fear the Walking Dead. After Genesis, I played Jesus and Risen.
I saw that movie.
Oh, wow, yeah. So I had to like get into a regime where I had to get on the cross after I did Genesis. So that was tough. So that was amazing. But I think the gift of these three roles is that these three roles, because there's Genesis, there's Jesus, and there's Travis Manawa in Fear the Walking Dead. So Manawa means heart. So all of these characters have a similarity, and that they represent compassion and love, and trying to help others. They're all obsessed with those three things. Yeah. And so it's really great for me, after years of like being typecast as a bad guy, to get these three beautiful roles where I'm the opposite of that. So as an artist, it's very gratifying to see that I've progressed.
Well, I've watched all three projects. That's most definitely for sure. And my last question for you is, since you method act chess, how's your chess play?
I'm still I've gone from a non-player to an average player. And I'm looking forward to challenging the director of the film today.
Oh, great.
Because I want to thrash him. Yeah, we're kind of like 1 for 1 now. So yeah.
Well, today's your tiebreaker day.
I did beat one grandmaster at a 1-minute game of chess, which was very exciting for me. Once. That's about as good as I've gotten so far, but I'm still trying to unlock the many rooms in the mansion called chess.
All right. Well, awesome. Hey, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.